the vibrant pulse of Atlanta, where jazz spilled from cafes and the streets danced under neon light, one man lived above it all, Zaire Monroe. At 33, broad-shouldered, dark-skinned, and magnetic, Zaire was the only son of Bartholomew Bow. Monroe, a powerful black billionaire who had built an empire from logistics to real estate with grit and vision. Bow was known for his iron discipline. Zaire, on the other hand, was the poster boy for indulgence. Fast cars, velvet ropes, fashion week appearances, and a trail of women whose names he barely remembered. Love? Zaire called it a poetic scam. But tonight, things changed. Bow Monroe's study was lined with portraits of civil rights leaders and shelves heavy with awards. Sitting across from his son at a desk the size of a dining table, Bow said simply, "You have 1 year to find a wife, or I give the company to someone who's ready." Zaire nearly laughed. "You serious?" "As a heart attack," Bow replied. "You want to lead this legacy, you better show me you understand responsibility, and that starts with commitment." A storm brewed in Zaire's chest. Marriage? No chance. But lose his empire? Hell no. Later that night, as he crossed the private parking lot to his black Lamborghini, something unusual caught his eye. A woman curled up beside the utility wall, wrapped in a torn blanket. Zaire stepped closer, frowning. With a cautious nudge of his shoe, the girl stirred, eyes wide in alarm. "Please, don't hurt me," she whispered. Zaire's voice softened. "I'm not here to hurt you. But why are you sleeping outside my building?" She hesitated. Nowhere else to go. She was young, early 20s maybe, her skin rich and deep, her natural curls tangled, her clothes faded and thin. "What's your name?" "Naima Ellis." Zaire folded his arms. "And how'd you end up here?" She swallowed hard. "I worked here, janitorial team. They cut my hour, then the whole job. I was crashing in a cleaning closet until security found me." Her voice was steady, but pain clung to every syllable. "I was studying journalism at Spelman. My parents passed 2 years ago. No one left. I had to drop out when tuition piled up." Zaire felt something stir, maybe guilt, maybe opportunity. She wasn't just some hustler. She had dreams life had crushed. He spoke slowly. "I have a deal for you. 1 year, you pretend to be my fiancée. I give you a place to live, fund your education, and set you up to start over." Naima looked at him like he was crazy. "Why?" "Because I need to convince my father I'm ready for marriage." "But I'm not ready to actually do it. We fake it, then part ways." She blinked. "No funny business." Zaire smirked. "Don't flatter yourself. We'll keep our lives separate behind closed doors. Just act the part in public." Naima looked at the empty street, then at the man offering her a second chance. "I want school paid for," she said. "Done. And I don't cross any lines I'm not comfortable with." "You have my word." She straightened up. "Then I'm in." The very next morning, Naima Ellis arrived at Zaire Monroe's mansion in the upscale district of Cascade Heights, gripping a small tote, all she had left in the world. She had expected luxury. What she saw went far beyond. The Monroe estate was a modern southern palace. Sleek white stone exterior, gold trim, twin fountains shaped like black heritage, statues and a long driveway lined with royal palms. Expensive cars sat like trophies in the garage. A Rolls-Royce Phantom, a matte black G-Wagon, and Zaire's signature pearl-white Aston Martin. A sharply dressed butler, a tall, older man with deep brown skin and salt and pepper locks pulled into a bun, greeted her with a gracious nod. "Welcome, Miss Ellis. I'm Mr. Benton, head of household. Right this way." Naima followed him through wide, echoing halls lined with West African art, jazz playing softly from ceiling speakers. Every room shimmered with class and tradition. When Mr. Benton opened the door to what would be her bedroom, Naima's breath caught in her throat. It was the size of her entire old apartment, maybe larger. A king-sized bed with silky gold and cream linens, a chandelier of hanging crystal shells, a walk-in closet already filled with high-end outfits in her size, and shelves stocked with black-owned skincare and hair products. "This can't be real," she murmured. But it was. That night, As the Atlanta skyline glowed outside the giant bay windows, Zaire appeared in the living room, dressed in an all-black tailored suit. "Get dressed," he said smoothly. "We've got an event." Naima blinked. "What kind of event?" He grinned. "Time to introduce the world to my stunning fiancée." Her stomach flipped. This was real now. Back in her room, she rifled through the gowns until her fingers landed on a simple yet elegant midnight blue dress that hugged her curves. She pulled her hair into a sleek bun, applied light makeup, and took a long breath before walking back into the living room. Zaire turned and stared. His playful smirk faded for a second. "Wow. You clean up better than expected." Naima rolled her eyes. "Try again with the compliment." He chuckled and offered his arm. "Shall we?" She looped her arm in his, and as they stepped out, a barrage of flashing cameras greeted them. Zaire didn't flinch. He walked with the ease of someone born into the spotlight. "Naima." She clung to his side, her smile hiding nerves like a soldier under fire. The venue was breathtaking, a historic art museum turned gala hall in downtown Atlanta, glowing with gold uplighting and live saxophone echoing through the arched ceilings. Guests sparkled in designer gowns and silk suits. Laughter mingled with the clink of champagne flutes. As soon as Zaire and Naima entered, heads turned. Whispers flowed like wine. "Is that Monroe's girl? She doesn't look like the ones he usually brings. She's beautiful, though. Different." Naima kept her chin high and clutched Zaire's arm. This was the role now. The mysterious, elegant woman on the arm of one of the city's most untouchable men. "Just smile," Zaire whispered, his voice smooth. "And remember, you're madly in love with me." Naima smirked. "Try not to make that harder than it already is." Suddenly, a tall man in a cobalt suit and locks pulled back with gold cuffs stepped forward. He grinned wide. "Zaire Monroe, my brother." The man boomed. Zaire's expression lit up. "Cairo West. Look what the wind dragged in." Cairo hugged Zaire, then turned his bright eyes to Naima. "And this vision?" Naima extended a hand, which Cairo took, but instead of shaking he kissed it, lingering just long enough to make Zaire's jaw twitch. "Naima Ellis," she said smoothly. "Naima," Cairo repeated, eyes twinkling. "A pleasure. You're glowing tonight." "Flattery doesn't work on me," she replied with a sly smile. Zaire smirked. "She's sharper than you, West." Cairo laughed. "I like her already." Then he leaned in, whispering just loud enough for Naima to hear. "If my boy gets boring, you know where to find me." Zaire's arm tightened around Naima's waist, almost instinctively. Naima blinked. Was that jealousy? Cairo chuckled and sauntered off toward the bar, leaving tension in his wake. Naima leaned into Zaire and whispered, "Relax. I'm not leaving you for a man with 6 rings and a history of heartbreak." Zaire tried to suppress a grin but failed. "Good to know." They moved deeper into the crowd. Most people greeted them with smiles lined with suspicion, polite enough to hide judgment, sharp enough to cut. But one woman didn't bother hiding it. She approached alone, tall and regal in a blood-red dress, her locks pinned into an elegant crown, a press badge tucked discreetly into her clutch. "Monet Reeves," she said with a perfect smile. "Journalist, and you must be the mystery fiancé." Naima's smile didn't budge. "That's right." Monet tilted her head. "Zaire Monroe in love? I've documented your Playboy history for 5 years. This is a twist." Zaire's jaw ticked, but he didn't respond. Naima did. Life surprises us. Even the coldest hearts can catch fire. Monet's smile didn't fade, but her eyes darkened. "We'll see if it lasts. Good luck." As she walked away, Naima exhaled. Zaire whispered, "You handled that like a queen." Naima smiled tightly. "I've been surviving critics my whole life. What's one more?" But inside she knew this was just the beginning. The sharks had scented blood. The next morning, sunlight poured over the Monroe estate as Naima Ellis stood in front of a mansion that made Zaire's home look like a guest house. This was the Monroe Legacy residence, where Bartholomew Bow Monroe lived, a towering estate that whispered generational wealth and Southern black royalty. Marble lions guarded the gates. A bronze sculpture of Bow shaking hands with a Ghanaian president sat by the entrance. Naima's palms were damp. Her heart thudded behind her ribs. Zaire stood beside her in a tailored tan suit, his usual bravado little dimmed. "You don't have to be nervous," he murmured. "You're nervous," Naima replied, without looking at him. He smirked. "Touché." They entered the house. Opulence greeted them, mahogany walls, Ghanaian kente cloth accents, and shelves of leather-bound books older than Naima. In the center of the great room stood Beau Monroe, wearing a custom navy suit, gold cufflinks, and a face carved from stone. Zaire stepped forward. "Dad, this is Naima." Naima stepped forward. "It's an honor to meet you, Mr. Monroe." Beau's sharp eyes scanned her like she was a figure in a museum he wasn't sure belonged. Then silence. Finally he spoke, low, deep, and steady. "You're not what I expected." Naima's throat tightened. "Sir?" Beau leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "The women Zaire usually entertains are interested in one thing, the Monroe name. You, though." He tilted his head, studying her. "You don't seem impressed." Naima met his gaze. "I respect legacy, but I build my own." A pause. Then, the faintest, almost imperceptible nod. "I like her," Beau said. Zaire blinked. "That's it? You've spent my whole life interrogating my dates and now you like her?" Beau stood slowly. "Because this time you didn't bring me a follower. You brought me someone who might actually stand beside you." Naima smiled politely, but her insides trembled. She didn't know if this was an act anymore, or if she had just passed a test that mattered more than the performance. As Zaire walked her back to the car, he glanced sideways at her. "You know," he said, "my dad doesn't say much, but when he does, it means something." Naima didn't answer right away, but for the first time since this began, her hand brushed his as they walked, and she didn't pull away. Days passed. Slowly, Naima Ellis began to settle into the rhythm of her new life. Early morning walks in silk robes, reading by the fountain, attending society events on Zaire's arm. But what surprised her the most wasn't the luxury. It was Zaire Monroe. Beneath the bravado and silk-lined charm, he was evolving. He brought her fresh ground coffee in the mornings, claiming the housekeeper was slacking. He ordered books from her old college reading list. He even defended her when someone at a gala questioned her presence. She saw it in his eyes too, the way they softened when he looked at her. Naima tried to remind herself, this is a business deal, a role. But her heart had stopped listening. One evening they sat on the stone balcony of the Monroe estate, overlooking the Atlanta skyline, glowing like a galaxy. Naima looked over at him. "Can I ask you something?" Zaire sipped his whiskey. "You just did, but go ahead." She rolled her eyes. "Why don't you believe in love?" His smirk faded. He stared into his glass for a moment, then said quietly, "Because love's a myth. People say forever, but they mean until it's inconvenient." Naima studied him. "Someone hurt you?" He didn't respond. She didn't push. Instead, she whispered, "Not everyone leaves." He turned to look at her, and for a heartbeat, something shifted between them. A shared scar, a silent recognition. Then, the front door opened. Naima sat up straighter as a tall, stunning woman stepped into the room like she owned the space. Dressed in a designer jumpsuit, heels clicking across the floor like a warning. Her skin was flawless, her locks swept to the side like a crown, and her smile toxic in silk. Sable Jordan. Zaire stood slowly. His voice was tense. "Sable." Naima's chest tightened. So this is the woman who broke him. Sable moved closer, brushing a hand on Zaire's shoulder. "It's been too long, darling." Naima rose from the couch, shoulders straight. "And you are?" Sable turned, her eyes gliding over Naima like she was a clearance rack accessory. "I'm Sable Jordan," she said sweetly. "Zaire's first love." Naima's heart skipped. Zair's jaw tightened. "What are you doing here, Sable?" Sable shrugged. "I heard you were engaged. Just had to see the miracle with my own eyes." She walked over to Naima, her smile sharp. "Congratulations. You must be very talented." Naima held her ground. "I get by on honesty and grit. And apparently that's enough." Zair stepped in. "Sable, if you came to stir drama—" Sable raised a hand. "Relax. I just wanted to talk." Zair shot Naima a look. "Give us a minute?" Naima hesitated, then nodded, but not before locking eyes with Sable. Whatever Sable wanted. It wasn't peace. In the marble lounge of the Monroe estate, the tension between Zair and Sable Jordan was heavy enough to crack glass. "So," Sable said, crossing her legs slowly, "is this thing with her real? Or is this just another of your clever plays?" Zair's voice was low. "It's none of your business." Sable leaned forward. "Come on, Zair. We both know this isn't you. You don't do commitment." Zair's fists clenched. "People change." She smiled faintly, the kind of smile that remembered too much. "Not you." He stood, suddenly done with the conversation. "You made your choice years ago, Sable. You left. You don't get to show up now like we paused a chapter." Her voice softened, calculated. "I was young. I had a chance to study in London. You wanted me to stay and watch your father train you like an intern. I wanted more." Zair's tone turned cold. "You didn't want me. That's what you mean." Her eyes faltered, just for a second. "I never stopped loving you, Zair." He exhaled hard, walking away without another word. But Sable Jordan wasn't one to quit, especially when she smelled competition. Meanwhile, across town, in an upscale midtown cafe, Sable slid into a booth across from Monet Reeves, the investigative journalist who had always had an eye for trouble. And, for men like Zair, Monet sipped her coffee, arching a brow. "You're serious? You think she's hiding something?" "I don't think," Sable replied. "I know." Monet's lips curved. "Go on." "She's too polished now. But that accent, that edge, that's not prep school, that's survival. I need to know where Zair found her." Monet leaned back, intrigued. "If she's from his past, or worse, from the company's janitorial roster, that'll make waves." Sable smiled like a shark. "Dig into her. Let's see what floats." To the surface, Monet set her coffee down. "Give me 48 hours. Sable's eyes gleamed. "And when the truth comes out, Zair won't see her the same way again." That night, Naima sat alone in the library wing of the Monroe mansion, unease in her chest. Ever since Sable appeared, Zair had been quiet, distant. She'd tried to focus on her studies, the textbooks, the plans to re-enroll, but something was off. Her phone buzzed. A news notification. Who is Zair Monroe's mystery fiancé? The shocking past of Naima Ellis. Her blood ran cold. With trembling hands, she tapped the headline. There it was. Everything. Her time as a janitor. Her dropout record. Photos. Of her sleeping behind the building in tattered clothes. And worst of all, a viral clip of Sable speaking to the press with a poisonous smile. Zair's never been serious about anyone. I'm just surprised he's now engaged to someone who once mopped the same floors his shoes touched. Life's funny, isn't it? Naima stared at the screen, humiliated, betrayed, exposed. The fairy tale had cracked wide open, and she didn't know if her heart or her dignity would survive what came next. Naima sat frozen in the Monroe Library, the soft hum of the chandelier. Overhead, a stark contrast to the chaos inside her chest. Her past laid bare, not just to the world, but to Zair. The article had gone viral within hours. Her college dropout status, her time as a janitor, even a grainy photo of her curled up behind the company building. Everything now lived on the internet. Some comments were kind. She's been through so much. Good for her. But others, gold. Digger. This is Monroe's idea of a fiancé? From mop to mansion. Incredible. Just then, the front door slammed. Zair's voice echoed through the mansion. Naima! She jumped to her feet. Her fingers clenched the armrest, breath shaking. He, appeared in the doorway, eyes blazing, phone still in hand. "Did you see this?" She nodded slowly. "Yeah," he paced, jaw tight. "They're calling you a fraud, a social climber. They're dragging my name, our name through the mud." Naima swallowed. "I never asked for this." Zaire stopped, breathing hard. "You said this would be clean, simple, that no one would get hurt." "I didn't leak it," she said sharply, stepping forward. "I didn't ask for cameras or Sable Jordan's mouth. I didn't want this." His eyes burned into hers. "Then why didn't you tell me?" Naima's voice cracked. "Because I was ashamed." Silence. The tension thickened, every unsaid word between them now raw and visible. Then she asked, barely above a whisper, "Do you believe them, Zaire?" He hesitated. Too long. That one beat of silence said everything. Naima stepped back, the pain in her eyes deeper than any insult. "I think that's my answer." She turned and left the room. Later that evening, a message arrived on Naima's phone from Beau Monroe. "Come to the estate. Alone." With a pounding heart, Naima stepped into the patriarch's office, the same office where she had first earned his cautious approval. Beau didn't stand. He simply looked at her over his steepled fingers. "Young lady," he said calmly, "why are you here?" Naima straightened her spine. "Because you asked me to come, sir." He studied her a moment longer. Then, "Are you here for my son's wealth?" Naima's throat tightened. The humiliation she'd held back all day surged to the surface. "No," she said. "I'm here because I got caught in something bigger than me. And because I care about Zaire." Beau leaned forward. "The media will eat you alive. They won't stop. Are you strong enough for that?" Naima hesitated. For the first time, she wasn't sure. Beau sat back, eyes narrowing. "I've known many women who wanted a Monroe name for power. But you, Naima Ellis, you came in with your past exposed and your head still high." He paused. "That's not weakness. That's armor." Naima's voice broke. "I didn't mean for this to become real, but it did. For me." Beau nodded slowly. "That's all I needed to know." At that very moment, the flat screen in Beau's office lit up. Breaking news, a surprise press conference with Zaire Monroe. Naima turned, stunned, as Zaire appeared on the screen in a navy blue suit, flanked by microphones. He looked directly into the cameras, calm, steady, fierce. "Let me make this clear," he began. "Naima Ellis is not a gold digger. She is not a fraud. She is not here for anyone's money." He held up the viral article. "This is trash. This is fear of a powerful black woman rising above her circumstances." Reporters shouted questions, but he didn't flinch. "I don't care about the gossip. I care about her. She is my fiancée. And if you have a problem with that, stop watching." Zaire walked off. The clip ended. Naima stood in silence, tears clouding her eyes, heart in freefall. He had defended her, not just in private, but to the whole world. For the first time, she wasn't sure she could keep pretending, because everything in her heart whispered, "It's not pretend anymore." The silence that followed Zaire's press conference felt heavier than applause, because for Naima Ellis, it wasn't victory. It was a reckoning. She turned slowly toward Beau Monroe, who stood motionless, hands still resting on the arms of his grand leather chair. "I have to tell you something," Naima said softly. Beau raised an eyebrow. "I'm listening." Her voice trembled, but she didn't back down. "This engagement, it started as an arrangement." Beau didn't flinch. "Zaire needed a fiancé to satisfy your ultimatum. I needed a roof and a way to go back to school. We made a deal. No love, no expectations." She paused, throat tight. "But somewhere along the way, something shifted. For me." Beau leaned forward, expression unreadable. "Go on." "I never planned it. Never wanted it. But I fell for him." She looked down, ashamed. "And I think that's why I have to leave." Because none of this was ever real for him. It was just a transaction, and I can't stay pretending while my heart is breaking. A long silence passed. Then Bo nodded slowly. I knew it. Naima's head snapped up. What? He exhaled. I suspected from the beginning. The glances, the chemistry, the quiet moments when neither of you were pretending. But I needed to know if you were going to admit it, to me or to yourself. Her eyes burned with tears she didn't want to show. Bo stood, walked to the window, and spoke without turning back. Love is the hardest empire to build, and the easiest to burn. If you truly love my son, don't run from the fire. Fight for it. Naima's voice broke. What if I'm the only one fighting? Bo turned then, his voice softer now. Then you leave with pride, but not with regret. Hours later. Back at Zair's mansion, the house was quiet. No music, no chatter, just silence. He walked into the living room and saw it, a small white envelope on the marble coffee table. His name, written in Naima's delicate script. His pulse spiked as he opened it. Dear Zair, thank you. For the roof, for the respect, for defending me. But I can't keep pretending this is business when it stopped being that for me weeks ago. I've left the check. I never took a cent. Goodbye, Naima. And there it was. The check they had. Agreed on, untouched. Zair stared at it, frozen. She left, not for money, not for fame, but because she loved him and thought he didn't love her back. The silence inside him shattered. He clenched the note in his fists and stormed toward the door. But, Zair? He froze. Sable Jordan stood in the entryway, flawless and unbothered, dressed in ivory silk. She's gone, isn't she? He didn't answer. Sable walked closer, her voice smooth. I told you she wasn't built for this life, that she'd run when it got hard. Zair looked at her with something colder than fury. She didn't run. I pushed her. Sable stepped closer. You and I, we could rule this city together. Don't throw that away for a fantasy. He stepped back. We had our chance. You threw it away. Sable's voice cracked slightly. And I regret that, every day. Zair didn't waver. But I don't. Because losing you taught me what not to lose again. She flinched. And then he said the words that sealed it. I love Naima. And if I ever had the chance to say it again, I'd scream it from the rooftop. Sable's lips trembled. She left, Zair. She didn't fight for you. He stared her down. Because I didn't give her a reason to. He walked past her, into the night. The city of Atlanta blurred past as Zair Monroe drove like a man chasing more than time. He was chasing his only chance at redemption. His hands tightened on the steering wheel. Her note echoed in his mind. It stopped being business for me weeks ago. Why hadn't he seen it? Why hadn't he said something? But there was one place, one dream, she always spoke about. Spelman College. She had once called it her unfinished symphony. If Naima was anywhere, Zair knew it would be there. He screeched into the visitor parking lot, barely putting the car in park. The historic red brick buildings loomed ahead, quiet under the early dusk. And then he saw her, sitting alone on a bench near the admissions building, arms wrapped around her knees, her bag by her side. Naima. She stared at the entrance of the college, eyes glistening as if watching the life that had once belonged to her. Zair stepped out of the car. His heartbeat thundered in his ears as he walked across the quad. She heard footsteps and turned. Her breath caught. Zair? He didn't slow down, and when he reached her, he didn't speak. He just pulled her into his arms and held her tight, like the truth had finally caught up to him. Naima stiffened at first, then melted, then pulled back. What are you doing here? She whispered. He cupped her face gently. You were wrong. Her eyes searched his. About what? Zair's voice broke. About thinking I didn't love you. Naima's breath hitched. I love you, he said, his voice thick, raw. Not because of some deal, not because of what you've survived. I love you because you made me see the world different. You made me feel again. Tears welled in her eyes. I pushed you away because I was scared, he said, because love once destroyed me. But you built me back. A trembling laugh escaped her lips. Took you long enough. Zaire smiled through wet eyes. I'm here now. She looked at him for a long moment, then threw her arms around him, burying her face in his chest. And finally she whispered, I love you too. He kissed her, not like a man sealing a deal, but like a man finally claiming what he never thought he deserved. As Zaire Monroe and Naima Ellis stood embraced beneath the ivy-laced walls of Spelman College, a storm quietly brewed for the ones who tried to tear them apart. Midtown, Monet Reeves's office. Monet Reeves sat alone in her home studio, staring at the headline she had written, now ripped apart in comment sections and social media threads. Ex-janitor fools billionaire. Zaire Monroe's engagement built on lies. The video of Zaire's press conference had gone viral, not for scandal but for truth and love. Her inbox was now flooded with messages. You owe her an apology. You went after a black woman who rose from nothing and turned it into clickbait. For the first time in her career, Monet felt shame tighten her chest. She clicked delete. Then, with a sigh, she opened a blank document. This time, she would write the truth. Downtown, Sable Jordan's penthouse, Sable Jordan stood in front of a floor-length mirror, draped in a silver gown she'd bought for a victory party that would never happen. She had gambled everything, her reputation, her pride, on destroying Naima, and lost. Zaire had chosen her. Not the flawless socialite, not the safe choice. The girl with nothing but scars and soul. Tears stung Sable's eyes. Not from heartbreak, but from the realization that for the first time in her life, she wasn't enough. She reached for her suitcase, Lagos, Paris, wherever the next chapter started, but it wouldn't be here. A month later, Atlanta's social event of the year. The city buzzed as invitations spread like wildfire. Zaire Monroe weds Naima Ellis, a royal union in the heart of Atlanta. At the gates of a grand estate just outside the city, guests poured in from all walks of life. Politicians, artists, CEOs, and students from Spelman and Morehouse, all dressed in flowing Ankara agbadas and velvet suits. The air pulsed with the rhythm of talking drums and the scent of white gardenias. Naima emerged from the manor, radiant in a Yoruba-inspired bridal gown, embroidered with gold beads and crowned with a delicate jewel that shimmered under the Georgia sun. Cheers echoed as she took her first step down the aisle, her arm linked with Beau Monroe's. The man who once doubted her now walked her toward the future she had earned. At the altar stood Zaire, adorned in a royal blue aso. Okay, smiling like a king who had found his queen. As their eyes locked, the crowd fell into a hush. The priest raised his hands. Do you, Zaire Monroe, take Naima Ellis? I do. Do you, Naima? I do. And when the priest declared, you may kiss the bride, Zaire didn't wait. He pulled Naima into his arms and kissed her deeply, sealing not a deal, but a destiny. Social media lit up. From mop to mansion? No, from warrior to wife. She didn't marry into power. She reminded it what grace looked like, a real-life black love story about time. Later that night, as the reception faded into laughter and starlight, Zaire and Naima stood under a canopy of fairy lights. She leaned into him. Did you ever imagine we'd end up here? He kissed her forehead. Not even in my wildest dreams. She smiled. Good, because mine were always bigger than yours. And as they danced to the slow hum of jazz and distant drums wrapped in silk and starlight, the truth became clear. Love isn't found in perfection. It's built in truth, fought for in fire, and crowned by faith.